Another uber-talented player, but on the backside of his career, JJ, Odell Beckham Jr. What's the latest with the saga there? I mean, his dad comes out and kind of throws Baker Mayfield under the bus, says, get my son the football, but it doesn't sound like the Browns are going to trade him. What's going on?
No, it does not seem like the Cleveland Browns are going to trade Odell Beckham within the next hour, even though, listen, I want to be clear about this. The Cleveland Browns were not actively shopping Odell Beckham Jr., but if a team called them with a legitimate offer to acquire Odell Beckham Jr. via trade, the Cleveland Browns wouldn't have ignored the phone call. They wouldn't have hung up and said, absolutely not, we're not interested. They would have been interested. That call never came, and I think that that's sort of the league and the market, if you will, speaking to what it believes Odell Beckham is worth. And the league or the market does not believe that Odell Beckham Jr. can be healthy enough to still perform at the level that we saw now, 4 or so years ago, and do so in a healthy way and pay worth his salary. And so that's what we're seeing. I've seen a couple of social media jokes because it wasn't just his dad who posted that. LeBron James came out with a tweet saying #FreeOBJ, and that folks were saying maybe this is a coordinated effort by Odell Beckham Jr. and his camp to get him out of Cleveland on the day of the NFL trade deadline. I'd like to think that both men, LeBron James and Odell Beckham Sr., have enough agency to do these things on their own, that LeBron James understands it's the trade deadline, sees the talk around, that his dad is able to post this, and that maybe, I know that we love a good conspiracy theory here in America. I don't know if I necessarily buy the conspiracy theory. I do know that Odell Beckham Jr. is not happy in Cleveland, and he's not necessarily all that happy when his team isn't winning and when he's not getting the football. Well, right now the Browns aren't winning and he's not getting the football. So, of course, Odell Beckham Jr. is not happy. But the Browns still believe that they are a playoff team. They're still a better team with Odell Beckham Jr. on the roster. And unless some deal magically appears here where some team is willing to give up a high draft pick, and maybe Cleveland has to eat some of that remaining money to deal him, I just don't see it happening, have not seen it happening. And that's why Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be remaining a Cleveland Brown for the rest of the season, very likely, unless something crazy happens and he just forces his way out and has to be cut. But I cannot imagine Beckham will be a Brown in 2022.
Names over games. This is a classic case of it because there's no game to go with the name. He's not close to being the same player he used to be. Not close. Ever since the injury and all the issues he's faced, he hasn't been close to being the same player. He was a great player early in his career. He's not a great player anymore. And there's some moping and some really lethargic play at times. And clearly he wants the football. I get it. But when was the last time, truly, Odell Beckham was a great player? Been a long time.
He's in Giants uniform.
Correct. And that's a long time ago.
Tried to catch one one-handed down the seam last week.
Since the boat. He hasn't been the same since the boat.
That boat really hurt a lot of careers. A lot of Giants fans' hearts, too. With the
win. Am I wrong, though? Is he not? He's
not the same. He's been through some injuries. And here's the other thing I'd just say about wide receivers in general. The wide receivers I loved playing with the most were the ones that would come up to you and ask what they could do better. Or, hey, what do you see? This is what I saw. They were communicating with you. They wanted you to understand. They weren't the ones that went out there and just were like, hey, I'm open, get me the ball. That may be the case, but you also haven't played from the perspective or the vantage point of a quarterback, and that's not how this whole thing works. You've got to have all things working together in order for that ball to be delivered to the wide receiver. And one of the things you see when you're watching tape or watching film of Odell is it seems like he's more preoccupied with his route, what he's doing, as opposed to what else is going on in the field. What I mean is, if you see pressure, for example, if you got pressed man-to-man and you're looking at all these guys up at the line of scrimmage as a wide receiver, you need to be looking in and going, I need to speed up my route to get open because I know my quarterback's probably going to be under duress. Not saying you can't pick it up, but eventually someone's going to get to him at some point with all those one-on-ones. I don't see any sense of urgency sometimes in the way he runs his routes. I see at times when he's running downfield, he's not getting to a point where he should be looking back to find the football. And instead, he's still got his head down and he's digging. Or he's surprised that the ball's a little bit behind him. Well, if you get your head around once you get by the defender to have any awareness of where the ball is, you can make that adjustment. So there's things that you see within his game that are very centric to him and not what can I do better to help the Browns win the division, the Browns win the playoff. It all seems to be about himself and what he's doing, not the team.
The alligator armed it last week, too. Never a good thing. Try to catch a pass with your alligator arms.
Says, throw me the ball, I'm open. But I swear every time I see them throw him the ball, half the time he doesn't catch it. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.